DT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Hope you're having a fantastic morning this morning as we are inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Appreciate your patience this morning, hanging out and getting ready for us here where sports meets that thing called life. Like I said, inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios, Cafe Kubal here for you in our community on 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 3501 James Street, all in Syracuse. In downtown Syracuse, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, and of course on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, and in their newest location and their drive-through location on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse at Sweetheart Corners. Inside of this beautiful Cafe Kubal studio, fill up your cup with your favorites today, including the pumpkin spice chai that you know that I love to get at Cafe Kubal with their own syrups and spices and making everything in-house. It's not just a local place, it's a local flavor, it's a local design. Everything about Cafe Kubal is so unique, and that's why I love it so much, and I appreciate Matt Goddard, because if you go into a Cafe Kubal, let's say on James Street, and then you go to the one on Sweetheart Corners, they look different. They're different inside. They have different designs. So going to each of the Cafe Kubals is like going to multiple different coffee shops. It's actually, every experience is different. Every experience is unique, and they have, what bonds them all together is the staff that he brings in there, Matt Goddard, speaking on him, as well as the amazing flavors and menu items, and that's what bonds them all. And then what makes them different is just their look. So you can experience something different at every single one, and at the same time you can experience the things you love, which is a great bonding of really awesome, it's just a great model, and I appreciate it so very much, and I want to thank Matt Goddard for all that he does to make it a unique and truly special place. We're inside of our Thursday broadcast, and you know Papa Joe is here with us Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, but PJ has had a takeover, and this is the third week of that takeover. A couple weeks ago, he done took over the whole thing, shook the room, and brought us in and made it the PJ Power Hours and took over 2 hours. And last week we were with each other down in the great state of Florida, the second home of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And being down there, I did something I've never done before, where I made a prediction and I jumped in the pool with my clothes on. All of my clothes, not swimming trunks, just fully clothed. Jumped in the pool, which made sense because I was wearing a Jacksonville jumbo shrimp and shrimp like water. So I jumped in the pool and I picked Syracuse, and they lost after that in a last-second field goal attempt by Ryan Fitzgerald. And seeing that happen, I'm okay with the fact that I made that prediction. It's the first time I made history that way because they got very close and they only lost by a second. So the Syracuse Orange losing that game. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about so much more coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora as Papa Joe proudly joins us from the Sunshine State. Let's bring the man in of the hours as PJ takes over Wake Up Call. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Good morning, Daniel. Yeah, 2 hours, a long time to talk, buddy, but we can do it.
You know, we got a lot to discuss. We got a lot going on. I don't know if you were fast asleep, and many people were. I would think last night when the West Coast was featuring the NL wildcard Los Angeles Dodgers versus the St. Louis Cardinals, I said going into the game that whoever wins this game gets the Giants. And whoever's in that pod of the bracket, I honestly believed any one of those three teams could win the World Series. Because the Cardinals are playing well, you got the Giants playing well, and you got the Dodgers being the Dodgers who have played well these last few seasons. I thought any one of those three teams was going to make it a tough out for anybody within that region. And that's what made me say, don't be surprised if it goes extra innings. Don't be surprised if this game is close. And in the bottom of the ninth, it was 1-1, and the commentator kept saying, walk-off home run, walk-off home run. Hey, this would be a great time to get a walk-off home run. And then Taylor comes up to bat and has a 2-run walk-off home run that sends the Dodgers in the bottom of the ninth to meet the Giants once again. Your thoughts, Papa Joe, on how the Cardinals and the Dodgers did exactly what I thought they would do, which is bring us down to the bitter end and the Dodgers are moving on.
Well, the Cardinals were on such a tear. They've been end of the year. I think they won something like 16 games straight and 17 out of 18 or 19 or something like that. And anytime you got a pitcher like Wainwright, who's a Hall of Famer, pitching to another Hall of Famer, Yadier Molina, you got the makings of a super pitching duel, and that's what happened. Because the Dodgers had to throw Max Scherzer, who was a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. He wasn't really sharp, but he was good enough to let LA hang in there. It was everything I expected it to be. I didn't expect the Cardinals to go on, but if you remember, I've been saying this for 3 or 4 months now, that the World Series is going to go through the National League West, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and at the time, I thought San Diego would be playing a lot better than they did. Well, they didn't. They had a Cy Young Award winner on their club too, Matt Snell from Tampa Bay, and they had a couple of young phenoms, Manny Machado and Tatis, but they were too immature to hang in there with the big boys. And subsequently, they fired their manager too. So I know what happened there. I know that the kids just weren't playing up to their power. And the manager's going to get it, so that's too bad for him. But he'll find a job somewhere. Oh, getting back to the Dodgers, they're going to be good. They got the pitching the last. I think that the San Francisco, LA. We've seen them play all year long. They've played something like 18 games or 16 games against each other. You can throw those records out the window now. Doesn't make any difference because this is survival now. I think it's the best out of 5. And it's going to be a ball to watch, and I'm ready to go. I have all 4 teams. I have all my stats ready to go, and I have college football and pro football. So I'm going to run. I'm going to have laryngitis when it's all over with. I know.
Well, you wanted to go that too, sir. You wanted to go that too. So,
okay, let's go. I'm ready.
So
we can do this for as long as I can hold out.
Yeah. So let's start things off with a rivalry that really didn't feel like one, the AL wild card, as the Yankees met the Red Sox. The Yankees starting off the season not that great, and then finding a way. I thought they would. I thought that they would eventually course correct, and they did. After the All-Star break, they found a way. They, made some moves, brought some players in, got some firepower, and started to put themselves in a better place. And they pushed and they pushed and they pushed, but then they would go back and forth. They would be good, then they would struggle. Then they'd be good, then they would struggle. Toward the end, they did the things that they needed to do, right? They put themselves in a position where they could host the game. But they didn't take care of business all the way. They swept the Boston Red Sox at the end of the season, but they had a few more games after that they still had to lock up, with the Boston Red Sox being snake eyes with them there record-wise. And they couldn't lock everything up, which sent the game to Boston instead of New York. Sent it to the Big Green Monster as opposed to the Bronx. Did that, in your opinion, have anything to do with the fact that the Yankees gave up a couple runs very early and could never, speaking of course correcting, course correct this game? The fact that they lost home field advantage in this one-game wild card, knowing that it's only one game and it's not a series, do you feel like that ultimately affected this game, or were the Red Sox just better?
Both of these teams we talked about, and again, I talked about this all summer long, is that their lack of pitching. You can't just have Garrett Cole for the Yankees and the rest of the staff. There has to be a couple of guys that can step in and spot start and do the job. With any good pitcher, especially a power pitcher, it's important to get off to a good start against them, because usually, as the game goes on, they get stronger. And they got a couple of runs off of Cole. And I could see that he was frustrated. He didn't have his best stuff either. But Boston could pound the hell out of the ball. They got some serious hitters. And if they win this pennant, the American League, it's strictly going to be just because of their hitting, not their pitching. Boston has their stud too, Nat Eovaldi, who faced Garrett Cole in that game. But again, after him, the pitching gets kind of thin there too. But Boston wins because they pound the hell out of the ball. Bobby Dahlbeck hit 240 with 25 homers and 78 RBIs. Alexander Bogaerts played a hell of a shortstop. Hit 295, 23 homers, 79 RBIs. Rafael Devers, who plays third base, second base, anywhere, 279, 38 homers, and 113 RBIs. I think he's probably a candidate for the MVP. It just keeps going on. You got Hunter Renfroe hit 259 with 31 homers and 96 RBIs. And their best player is J.D. Martinez, who was hurt, hit 256 with 28 homers and 99 RBIs. You have to be careful when you pitch to the Boston Red Sox because they will pound the hell out of the ball.
Yeah, and seeing this Red Sox team do what it's done, I mean, very interesting how things set up in the wild card. That if the Dodgers were to win the wild card in the NL, that they would face a divisional rival of the NL West with the San Francisco Giants. And in the same respect, on the other side of it, but even more so in the AL, no matter what team won the wild card, they were going to face the AL East rival. So no matter who between the Yankees and the Red Sox, they're going to face the Rays. What do you think about the fact that both of these wild cards set us up? And I know that every year they're going to be connected to somebody, but both of these wild cards set us up that whoever won the wild card in the American League, it was still going to be an American League East ALDS. And in that bracket, in that piece of it, that whoever won that of those three teams, they were all in the same division, and that the Dodgers winning puts another divisional rivalry here in the divisional series, which makes perfect sense here. When you look at the name of it, the ALDS and the NLDS. But what are your thoughts about the fact of how the wild card set itself up, that Red Sox or Yankees get the Rays that they faced a bunch of times during the year, and that the Dodgers get the Giants so early on in the playoffs?
Well, when you got divisional rivals, it's not like you don't understand or know the teams. I think they played each other 18 times during the year. I mean, that's absurd. You certainly know a little something about the team you're playing against. But like I said earlier, you can throw the records out the window. This is a best of five. Tampa Bay and Boston will have fireworks too. Tampa Bay comes in loaded with pitching because that's the way they win. It's small ball. However, they got Mike Zunino as a catcher, hit 33 homers and 62 RBIs. Yandy Diaz hit 13 homers and 64 RBIs. Brandon Lowe, who was really one of the better hitters, hit 247 with 39 dingers and 99 RBIs. And the sleeper of the whole series is Austin Meadows, who only hit 234, but he hit 27 homers and 106 RBIs. Nelson Cruz, who used to play for Seattle, and he signed as a free agent, 226, 13 homers and 36 RBIs. And Randy Arozarena hit 274, 20 homers and 69 RBIs. These guys are dangerous. But the side that's dangerous is Tampa Bay's pitching. Tampa Bay is loaded on that half. Shane McCullough will probably start the game, I think. I'm not sure. But he's got a 3.43 ERA. Kitteridge has a 1.88 ERA. McHugh has a 1.55 ERA. And Tyler Glasnow, who's their best pitcher, I'm not sure he's still on the IR or not, 2.66 ERA. And, they got plenty of guys to run in and out of there. And if you remember how I described the way Tampa Bay played a couple of years ago, is that they'll put their starter in for a couple, 3 innings, and then Kevin Cash will keep rotating his pitchers out. An inning here, 2/3 of an inning here, an inning and a half here. And that's the way they play, and that's the way they win. Boston knows that, too. Look, there's no secrets between these two. As I said earlier, all that stuff, all the numbers I just gave you, throw it out the window, because this is when it happens. Just like last night when we saw Taylor hit a home run for Los Angeles. He's not one of their prime players. He's a good player, but he's not a starter. And Cody Bellinger, who was the 2019 MVP of the league, nothing. He winds up hitting something like 165 this year. He's on the IR for the longest time, but he made things happen last night.
Yeah,
he walked a couple of times and walked just in time for Taylor to come up and hit the dinger to win it. So, even though Bellinger's in a terrible slump, he's gonna carry these guys a little bit farther too. So, you have the two teams in the AL matching up. No secrets at all. They know exactly what they're going to do and how they're going to do it and when they're going to do it. They just need timely hitting to win.
Yeah, and so I mean, this has definitely set us up here for a very exciting start. The Yankees having some life during the game, toward the end of the game at some point, obviously not giving up or giving in. Did the Yankees underwhelm you? Is it what you expected? They've had such an up and down season, and they did enough to get into the playoffs for the wild card, but how did they look to you in that wild card game against the Red Sox?
They looked a little flat, but they carry big sticks too. I think Aaron Judge and Mike Stanton carry those guys over there. But it's the same thing that I've been repeating: pitching. Past Garrett Cole, they can't count out another starter coming in and stopping the bleeding. It's unfortunate. Aaron Boone did a good job as a manager with what he had. He had a bunch of guys always on the IR, 10 days here, 5 days here. It's not, you can't be consistent. But these guys are pros, and they know what has to be done, and they just didn't do it. And as I stated earlier, when you get an ace, you're facing an ace. It's imperative to get to him early, because if you get, the more he pitches, the better he is. And in this particular series, you're going to see no starter probably go more than 3 or 4 innings, and that goes for the National League too. So it's a different kind of baseball. I call Tampa small ball instead of bash ball like I do for Boston. It'll be interesting to find out. As I stated earlier, no secrets. There's no hidden gem anywhere. They know who they're facing and how they're going to face them.
Yeah, and as we move forward here, speaking on the Major League Baseball postseason with Papa Joe and the PJ Takeover here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. So much to discuss. We have football coming up in hour number 2 as well. But Papa Joe, let's unveil your bracket. I unveiled mine, and Brendan and I did our episode 3 of our show, episode 3 of the Designated Diamond Show, which is all things baseball, that airs every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's proudly brought to you by the wonderful, wonderful Cafe Kubal Studios, and we're very happy to be here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. It's a part of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, Designated Diamond. So I unveiled my bracket. Brendan unveiled his. My bracket is up on the screen right now for those of you on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt and facebook.com/livenowdt. You can see my bracket. I had chosen the Yankees to meet the Rays, so I got that one wrong, and I chose the Dodgers to meet the Giants, which I got right. I have in the ALDS the Rays against the Yankees, which is now the Rays against the Sox, and I have the White Sox against the Astros, and then, I have the White Sox defeating the Astros in that one, and then I have the Giants over the Dodgers, the Brewers over the Braves, the Rays over the Yankees, so I don't lose anything by getting that wrong with the Red Sox, and then I have the Rays taking on the White Sox and moving on, the Giants taking on the Brewers and moving on. My World Series is number 1 seeded Tampa Bay and number 1 seeded San Francisco, with the Tampa Bay Rays winning the 2021 World Series. Papa Joe, I ask you now, what is your bracket?
Interesting comments there you just made. Tampa Bay and Boston. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay, mainly because I watched them play all year, and I know the kind of ball that they can play. And to me, always good pitching beats good hitting at this time of year. The second game, Chicago and Houston. I like Houston to come out of that bracket. And on this National League side, LA has been my favorite team for 3 years out there. I got LA taking over San Francisco. The Brewers, I can't say anything about the Brewers. The Brewers over Atlanta. And then we got Tampa and Houston. Well, I got Tampa there. And then we got LA and Milwaukee, and I get Milwaukee there. So my World Series will consist of Tampa Bay versus Milwaukee.
And who do you have winning it all?
Milwaukee, because of the pitching.
Okay. So it's interesting here. All different picks, as PJ has Tampa and Milwaukee, with Milwaukee winning the World Series. If we bring up Brendan Murphy's bracket here from Designated Diamonds, my co-host, he has the White Sox and the Dodgers with the Dodgers winning. So we all have a different champion. I have Tampa Bay, PJ has Milwaukee, and Brendan has the Dodgers. Brendan has a totally different World Series. PJ and I have half of our World Series the same, but a champion is different. So that's what it looks like here. Papa Joe, of the teams remaining inside of these playoffs, and Greg said keep that, what did he say here? Keep that Tampa Bay Area championship wave rolling. Listen, it's Tampa Bay, baby. And if Tampa had won it last year, the Rays, we would have had the Rays, the Bucks, and the Lightning all win a championship when I don't think anybody in Tampa Bay saw any of that coming over the past couple decades here. Now, back to my thought here, PJ. Who is the weakest team that remains in Major League Baseball's playoffs right now? Of all of the teams that are left there in this world of the 2021 MLB postseason, who do you consider to be the weakest team, and who do you consider to be the strongest?
Well, that's a tough one, Daniel. You know, these guys, these teams right now here, they say you throw away the records, just get ready to play ball. Boy, that's a very difficult question to answer, and I don't want to offend any team, but I think that probably in the National League, Atlanta would be the weakest. Mm-hmm. In the American League, probably the White Sox would be the weakest. Although the White Sox have good stats too. I mean, they're not. They won their division 2 months ago, for crying out loud. They're studs. They know how to win too. But Atlanta, I just don't think has the firepower to stay up. They got good pitching, of course. If Atlanta wins, it'll be because of pitching. I just like pitching over defense at this time of year.
Yeah, I would have to say, if it's overall, I'd say the weakest team of the entire MLB playoffs for 2021 are the Atlanta Braves. And I would say the strongest team is either San Francisco or LA right now. You can argue that, I would say if I had to pick, you picked on both sides. So if I had to pick on both sides in the American League, I would say the strongest team would be the Rays. The weakest team would be on... The weakest team for me in that scenario on that side, I would have to say, if the strongest team is the Rays, I'd say the weakest team is the Red Sox, which is tough to say. But on the other side, I would say definitely the Braves, and then the strongest would be the Giants or the Dodgers. I think whoever wins the Giants-Dodgers series is going to affect the entire rest of the playoffs for everybody. I think if the Dodgers beat the Giants, the Dodgers win the World Series. I think if the Giants beat the Dodgers, then Tampa wins the World Series, because I don't think that the Giants will have enough gas to outlast Tampa coming out of a series with the Dodgers and then a series with the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't think they're going to have enough, where I think Tampa will be okay. So that's kind of how I look at it, is that Tampa's hope of winning a World Series rests on that series between the Dodgers and the Giants. If the Dodgers win, the Dodgers win the World Series. If the Giants win that series, then I think the Tampa Bay Rays have a better shot at winning the series. So, I think that's the strength on both sides, but I definitely think the Braves are the weakest team, because it's a team you kind of have to double take and go, did they make it? And you're like, well, yeah, somebody had to make it out of the NL East, and you're like, yeah, but the Braves? So, it's one of those, it was a division that was really kind of ruined for me, with no offense to Atlanta. It's just, with the Mets, with Jacob deGrom, I was concerned all season long during the first part of the season, the first half of the season. Are they using him too much? Are they playing him too much? Are they not paying attention to his injury? If he really is injured, it's going to eventually catch up with him. It's going to bite him in the butt. They want him to play so bad now to keep the record going and keep this going and keep that going. But if you keep playing him now, and he needs a break, you're going to lose him later. So do you want to risk it now, knowing that you could lose him? And that exactly happened. So, the NL East to me was not a fair fight without Jacob deGrom, and the Phillies kind of underwhelmed after having some bright spots. So it's a division that I just feel like Atlanta coming out of that division is not really getting challenged as much as maybe some of these other teams, which is why I think they're the weakest at this point.
You mentioned San Francisco, LA being a key series, and it is. The Giants, have won 3 World Series over the last 10 or 12 years. I can't remember specifically. But the guys who were on that team are Buster Posey, Brandon Bell, Brandon Crawford, and Madison Bumgarner, who was a pitcher with them and they had to go to their team in Arizona. Now, those guys carried San Francisco. Posey this year is hitting .304 with 18 dingers and 56 ribbies. Brandon Bell's hitting .274, 29 homers, 59 ribbies. Brandon Crawford, who I think is a sleeper for the MVP, hit .298 with 24 homers and 90 RBIs. Evan Longoria, who came from Tampa Bay also, hit .261, 13 dingers and 46 RBIs. And Mike Yastrzemski, the nephew of Carl Yastrzemski, hit .224 with 25 homers and 75 RBIs. San Francisco does not have the hitting that can carry them, even though Posey and Belt and Crawford and the aforementioned Madison Bumgarner carried them to World Series before. Bruce Bochy's not managing that team now, and it's a little bit different team, but those guys have got to show up in order to get San Francisco past LA again.
Well, we look at this, speaking of LA, we look at the Dodgers. In 3 of the last 4 years, the Dodgers have played in the World Series. Now, they've only won 1 of those 3, but they've been in the World Series representing the National League 3 times in the last 4 years, falling to the Astros in 2017 in a 7-game series, falling to the Red Sox in 2018 in a 5-game series here, falling to the and then winning over the Tampa Bay Rays last year in a 6-game series. So they were able to get it done last year against Tampa and prevent Tampa from having that hat trick of the Rays, the Bucks, and the Lightning all winning a championship in their respective sports. You go back to the Giants and you talk about the Giants and what they did. They not only made the World Series, they won them. So with the Dodgers making 3 of the last 4, they've only won once. When the Giants had their run, the San Francisco Giants were in 2010 in a 5-game series against the Rangers, and they won that 4-1. Then they came back in 2012 and defeated the Tigers 4-0. Then they came back in 2014 and beat the Royals in a 7-game series 4-3. So when you look at what the National League has looked like the last few years, the majority of the time it's been the Giants or the Dodgers making 3 World Series, winning 1, the Giants making 3 World Series and winning all 3, and doing it every other year. 2010 made it, won it. 2012 made it, won it. 2014 made it, won it. So when the Giants advanced to the World Series in the 2010s, they've won. And when the Dodgers have advanced most recently, they've only gotten 1, but it's been most recent. What are your thoughts on that? The fact that the Giants and the Dodgers have both represented the National League the majority of the last decade here from 2010 to 2020, but that the Giants have been more successful when they've gotten there.
When you're watching baseball as much as I do especially, you want to try to see these teams play. Now, if it wasn't for MT, I wouldn't have my Major League Baseball because, quite frankly, when San Francisco or LA plays, it's always late at night from the West Coast, and no one on the East Coast is watching them. So all I do is read about them, and don't get a chance to see them. But I do now, thanks to MT. And these are both excellent teams. But LA's got a little bit of an edge. They hit a little bit better than San Francisco collectively, and LA's pitching is out of this world. Walker Buehler, 2.41 ERA. He was 16-4. Remarkable. Julio Urias, 2.96 ERA, 20-3. He won 20 games this year. You got Clayton Kershaw, who's not his best this year, probably on his last legs. He's not going to be involved because he got hurt again. And then, of course, there's Max Scherzer, who's a 3-time Cy Young Award winner, came in with a 1.98 and was 7-0 since he joined the Dodgers. You can't get by those, Daniel. The only other team that can play with these guys is Milwaukee because they have the pitching too. Kenley Jansen is a 2.22 ERA with 36 saves. He saved it last night also. Struck out 3 guys in the 9th inning. LA is a terrific team. They don't hit as well, but their pitching will keep them in there. And if you don't, again, Walker Buehler, Julio Urias, and Max Scherzer, you don't get these guys early, you're in for a very long day. But don't expect these managers to play their pitchers a lot. If these guys get in 5 or 6 innings at the most, I'd be surprised, especially Sam Skissy, who doesn't have the pitching. So, pitching beats offense any time of the day. That's why I like it, and that's why I like the Dodgers to go as far before they get to pick up Milwaukee, who is a terrific team also with a better pitching staff.
Yeah, and as we look at these playoffs and we get excited about what's to come, there's plenty coming up between now and the next time that you and I will talk, PJ, as far as looking at this schedule for the Major League Baseball playoffs here. And taking a look just to let people know as we move forward here, we have Game 1 of the Red Sox at the Rays tonight here on Thursday, October 7th. And so that's going to be going on 2 weeks before my birthday on the nose. So we have the Red Sox at the Rays will happen Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. If that series is wrapped up, it'll be done before the next time that we speak to one another. Either way, even if it goes 5 games, it'll be done before the next time we speak to each other. So, these series are going to be locked up here, Boston Red Sox in Tampa, and then Chicago, the Chicago White Sox playing up against the Houston Astros. That is also starting here tonight. And then in the National League, we'll have the Braves and the Milwaukee Brewers start off things on Friday when the Giants and the Dodgers do the same thing in San Francisco. So by the next time that we talk, we know no matter what, whether it goes 3 games, 4 games, 5 games, the Red Sox and the Rays, the White Sox and the Astros will be done by the next time we talk, because at latest they'll be done on October 13th. And then we could be talking in a Game 5 situation for the Giants and the Dodgers, which I think is very possible, or with the Braves and the Brewers. What are your thoughts on the fact of, what do you think about these series? I know you gave us our winners already, but what's the most exciting series you're looking forward to? And what can you say about the fact that the next time you and I get on air together a week from now, we're going to at least know who's going to be fighting for the American League's side of things to make it to the World Series, because those series will be done by the next time we talk.
True, and I'm going to be on a plane to Milwaukee, so my next show is going to have to be from Milwaukee. So who I'm pulling for. Chicago and Houston is Chicago just never played the kind of ball I thought was championship ball, even though they won easy. They won their division. The rest of their division sucked. But they do have some pop. And they do have a little bit of pitching, not as much as I thought until I researched them. So I look for Houston maybe to take over a little bit, but Chicago comes in with Yamani Grandal hitting .240 with 23 homers and 62 RBI. Jose Abreu, who is an absolute beast at the plate, hit .261 with 30 dingers and 117 RBI. You got Tim Anderson, who arguably is the best shortstop in the American League, hit .309 with 17 ribbies and 61 RBI, and he got hurt half of the year, so he didn't put in a full year. And Chicago's pitching stops with Lucas Giolito, who is their stud, but he's got a high ERA of 3.53. Dylan Case, Lance Lynn, Dallas Cucho, all these guys are good pitchers, but not great pitchers. Fortunately, they have a guy in the bullpen, Liam Hendricks, with a 2.54 ERA with 38 saves. So Chicago comes in on a high note to them because they're hitting better and their pitching is better. Liam Hendricks will be the key in this series. Now Houston's the other way around. Houston has Yuri Grandal at .319 with 15 homers and 81 RBI. Jose Altuve, who is MT's favorite little player, hit .278, 31 and 83. He's laughing over here. Carlos Carrera hit .279, 26 homers, 92 RBI. Alex Bregman, who was hurt for half of the year, comes in .270, 12 homers, 55 RBI. Where Houston wins is with their pitching. Zach Greinke, who's been around the league forever, it would seem, came in leaking some oil, but he's still a 4.16 ERA and a big-time pitcher. Lance McCullers comes in with a 3.16 ERA. Luis Garcia, 3.30. Franklin Valdez, 3.14. See, these are not bad ERA. Not at all.
Yeah.
Ryan Presley is our saver out of the bullpen, 2.25, 26 ERA. So again, I'm only stating these statistics just so everyone knows what they're going to be about. If some guy comes to the plate and says, "Oh yeah, Papa J talked about this guy," some pitcher comes in and says, "Oh, Papa Joe talked about that guy," so it'd be fun to watch. But Houston has a little bit too much firepower, I think, for Chicago. So I look for Houston to go on.
Yeah, and so I got the Chicago White Sox moving on in this, so we'll see what happens as we take a look at everything here. But I'm very excited for these series coming up and everything that we got going on here in Major League Baseball. A lot of great matchups are going to be finding us here. This is where the Sons of October live. So it used to be a time where my birthday of October 21st was the last game of the World Series. It was the end of the World Series. It was if you made Game 7 of the World Series. Well, now it's different. Now baseball, essentially, if baseball could creep into December and January, it would be a 12-month sport because they play in February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and now November. So baseball is almost completely year-round. PJ, what do you being an avid baseball fan, what are your thoughts on the fact that baseball now doesn't go away? Outside of December and January, outside of Christmas and New Year's, there's baseball being played in the majors here in America. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they start the season so early with the training camp really coming in late January, early February. And training camp is exhausting for these guys because they play, 20 or 25 games in that particular setup, even before they start the series. So, the season. So these guys that are trying to make the team, the All-Stars, they've got to keep their body in shape to go. Look, at 162 games is a lot of games. Then you throw 25 preseason games on top of that, and then you got the playoffs on top of that. So you're almost over 200 games. These guys are not built like that. They're not built the way Bob Gibson was built years ago. He pitched every game where he wanted to and finished the game. These guys don't do that. They're pampered as they go along because there's so many games to play. When you see a guy break down, they're just breaking down. It's sad to see, but some of the good players by the end of the season are reduced to nothing. Unfortunately, because they just don't have the stamina to finish. It's a very grueling sport. It's fun for me. Because I have all this at my fingertips. But it's fun to watch, and it's grueling. So the players that you're going to see now, just be mindful of the fact that most of them played all year long, over 200 games, and this is their World Series. These playoffs here, because you're one and done. You got to win and keep going. So, keep that in mind when you're watching these guys.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting to see how everything, moves forward as PJ and I have different brackets here. Papa Joe going with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Houston Astros. I'm going with the Tampa Bay Rays and the Chicago White Sox. And he is going on the other side of things, believing that the Brewers are going to get it done and move forward to the World Series. And PJ, you had the Dodgers, right, too?
Yeah.
So Dodgers and Brewers, and I have
Milwaukee. If they win their prelims here, the Dodgers in Milwaukee will be what baseball is all about: mediocre hitting, good pitching, and great defense. Milwaukee doesn't beat themselves. They have too many good players that play really, really, really good. Let me get to my sheet here. Although their pitching is sensational at times. Brandon Woodworth, 2.56 ERA. Corbin Burns, 2.45 ERA. Freddie Peralta, 2.81 ERA. Adrian Hauser, 3.22 ERA. Eric Lauer, 3.99 ERA. And then you got the killer in the bullpen, Josh Hader, who no one wants to face, period. 1.23 ERA, 34 saves. Milwaukee will win because of these guys. Sure, they got good hitting. I mean, Navarez, Wong, Wiley Adames, Luis Arias, Christian Yelich, who was the MVP 2 years ago, is also falling on hard times because he was injured. Eviseo Garcia. These guys hit well, but not as well as the other teams we've been talking about. They rely on pitching and defense, and so too will they rely on pitching and defense in the series.
Yeah. So as we step forward here, you have the Brewers and the Dodgers. I have the Brewers and the Giants. So 50% of our ALCS and NLCS is the same, but I have a different champion, and so do you. So we'll see what happens as everything comes to fruition here. But I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. Brendan Murphy's bracket, my bracket, PJ's bracket. We're all getting into it. We're all getting ready for what's coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And speaking of what's coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we will go back to the games that we picked last week, College Football Week 5, which saw me for the first time ever make history, making a pick, and then jumping into a pool fully clothed. We'll talk about all of that right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You've spent the first hour talking baseball. We shift to college football, the Jaguars, and Urban Meyer. When I finally got to interview Urban, not even a week later, the man being nasty out in the crowd. So, we'll talk about that and everything more coming up, and how something on my mind when it comes to Urban may be coming to fruition. And we'll make our NFL picks. All of that coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios with Papa Joe, MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', Papa Joe all Thursday. That's what's poppin'. We'll take a step aside. In the meantime, go to MonPazPopcorn.com and get your popcorn ready today. Plenty of games coming up, and they deliver to all 50 states. Go to MyAndPazPopcorn.com and use my promo code DT20 at checkout. That's DT20 to get 20% off at MyAndPazPopcorn.com.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, where you're watching, where you're listening live every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once again, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt and the wakeupcalldt.com homepage. You're watching on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and facebook.com/live-now-dt. So make sure you're tuning into Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday on these beautiful, wonderful avenues from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are hanging out here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios with a man they refer to as PJ, or Papa Joe, or Goso, the grand old smooth one, whatever you want to call him. That's, we know him as many names, and they're all good names and all positives. It doesn't get better than Papa Joe and Mary T, and getting to see them this past week and actually being in their house for the first time in 18 months was a beautiful and very much appreciated thing, and I look forward to the opportunity of being back there. There's nothing that can outdo Sunday sauce, hanging out at the table together, watching a movie together, which always ends up having some type of psychological, diabolical, crazy thriller. Is it an alien or a ghost or a spirit? So they always end up finding a really interesting movie on the Amazon Primes and the Netflixes of the world, but there's nothing that can quite stack up with having dinner together and being able to sit and watch a movie and talk. So I loved my time there, and I look forward to my time back, and I appreciate it so much. So I just hope that those of you listening and watching, that you value and take the time to appreciate the things that matter most. And Papa Joe and Mary are two of the greatest treasures of my life. So it was good to finally be back there. And I got to say, nobody does Asiago cheese like Miss Mary T. So
That's good. And, well, we always enjoy you coming, Daniel, of course, to cover the games and stuff. Always good to see you. House is open all the time. Orlando Lagoon, who you jumped into, I may say. That was funny. I didn't know what to say to your audience because you left me there on the mic. I didn't know what to say. But we had college football this last weekend, and there were some surprises, and I made some good picks, I thought, and we can start talking about them. I mean, it's just there's a bunch of games that surprised me, and it didn't surprise me. So obviously, the first game that surprised me was the Kentucky-Florida. But if our listeners remember, I picked Kentucky because they beat a lot of teams at the line of scrimmage, and Florida looks to be a little soft right now. I hate to say that, but frankly, Mullins got out-coached. There's no reason why Florida shouldn't hang 35 points on people. Instead, they were in a hostile environment. They didn't play well the first half, which is their calling card, because against Tennessee and Alabama, they did not play well in the first half, but came back with more athletes to win. They had better athletes in Kentucky, but Kentucky wanted it more. I felt that, and that's why I picked them. The other game, there's other games to talk about, but that's the one that really surprised me, Daniel.
Yeah, and kudos to you for picking. And I know that Greg, one of our listeners here, put a message out that you were smart in that pick, obviously, that you made when you chose Kentucky over your Gators, Kentucky at home. I thought that this game was a trap game last year, and here we are again. Florida, the number 10 team in the country, losing to unranked Kentucky 22-13 in a low-scoring affair. Michigan and Wisconsin, we picked this game as well. Michigan ranked 14th in the country. Wisconsin was ranked, but now they're unranked. And they won this game, Michigan won this game 38-17. And then we did the Mississippi State-Texas A&M game, and Mississippi State beat ranked Texas A&M. Texas A&M 15th in the country. Mississippi State not ranked, beat them 26-22 on the road. So some interesting games here with Michigan, Wisconsin, and Mississippi State, Texas A&M.
Michigan, well, I'm not a Big Ten guy, but Michigan looks like they got a little bit of power this year. I didn't think that this game would amount to anything because of the way Wisconsin plays. They're kind of a plotting team, and they like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They've always had good runners, but they needed to score more and play better defense. And Michigan, the second half, they just turned it on and proved that they had better athletes and they had better coaching. So it surprised me a little bit, even though I picked Wisconsin, mainly because of my bros up there. But Michigan looked maybe a pretty good deal this year. We'll have to see what happens. The other game was what? Texas A&M against what?
Mississippi State.
Texas A&M with your man Jimbo Fisher. Don't know what to say about that game. That game surprised me too. But Jimbo's going to have a really tough go of it here later on because he's going to be playing with some killer teams. So I don't look for Texas A&M to be in the hunt too much longer.
Yeah, Texas A&M losing to Mississippi State, just another showcase of how teams like Mississippi State and Arkansas are growing out of the basement of the SEC, which is horrible news for the SEC, horrible news for the country, because the SEC very well, when this thing, college football playoff, goes to 12, that 12 of those teams could now be SEC teams, especially if they're going to have 16. So Baylor at Oklahoma State, Baylor 21 in the country, Oklahoma State 19. Oklahoma State won this game at home over Baylor 24-14. We had spoken about that game as well. Thoughts on Baylor, Oklahoma State, and what happened in that matchup. And also we'll get to Arkansas and Georgia, where you picked Georgia and thought they'd have no trouble against Arkansas. I thought Arkansas would do something. They got blown out 37-0. Thoughts on Georgia blowing out Arkansas and what that says about Arkansas, who was top 8 in the country at the time, and thoughts on Baylor and Oklahoma State.
Baylor surprised me. I have to say that. Oklahoma State, I thought would be one of the better powers in their conference, but it didn't seem to happen. But the Georgia-Arkansas game, I think the whole country can agree right now that the two best teams in the country are Georgia and Alabama. You can't talk about anyone else. No Cincinnati, no nothing else. No Stanford, no nothing. These two guys are, and I tell you what, even if they play for the SEC championship, not going to make any difference because the other team is going to be in the playoffs too. So you're going to get a full dose of Georgia and Alabama. Georgia's defense was awesome. I thought Arkansas would show up. I thought they would play a better team defense, and Georgia just ran all over their asses. I mean, they were up and down the field and just could score at will. It really surprised me. But that's the way it is. Arkansas is in the West Division, so it doesn't have a lot of. You got to play against LSU and Alabama and things like that. Playing Georgia between the hedges out there, that was not fun, and they got their butts whipped. Yeah,
and you look at some of these other games here. I mean, obviously, Syracuse and Florida State. Syracuse had never won in Tallahassee, and they pushed this game to the brink, 30-30, and a couple missed tackles toward the end of the game let Jordan Travis spring free, and a field goal in the last second by Fitzgerald won the game for Florida State, 33-30. Their first win of the season. They're 1-4, and Syracuse is now 3-2. Thoughts on, despite the fact that Syracuse didn't win the game, despite me jumping in the pool and making history, what are your thoughts on Syracuse despite losing in this matchup? What did they do? Can they take anything from this game? The fact that I know Florida State's not as good as they used to be, but can Syracuse take anything from the fact that they have never won in Tallahassee and they've only defeated Florida State one time since joining the conference and starting play in 2013? So from 2013 to 2021, they have never, ever beaten Florida State in Tallahassee. Well, I mean, in the whole history of Syracuse football. But as these ACC foes, every time they've gone there, they've lost. They've only beaten them once, and that was at home in the Dome. Can they take anything from losing only by 3 in the last second?
Oh, probably so. I was surprised that, although I picked Florida State in this game because of their athletes, I was surprised that Syracuse could run the ball and score like they did. They're just a couple notches below what the best teams in the ACC are going to be. Certainly FSU is not one of them. But frankly, Daniel, when you looked at the game, the better athletes were on the field were from Florida State. So Your man Babers up there has got to recruit a little bit better because he does do a good job recruiting 2 and 3 stars. But when you come down south, you're playing 4 and 5 stars. There's a big difference. So it was a good game to watch. It was fun. But Florida State had the better athlete. I think you can take solace out of it because you're 3-3 going into a tougher schedule now. There's a good chance that if you win 3 games, you're going to go to a bowl. So that's not so bad.
Now, Syracuse this weekend gets Wake Forest, who's undefeated at 5-0. A team with Dave Clawson that I can't understate this. I can't overstate this over and over and over again. I've said this to you, but it's true. Dave Clawson was given the time that Scott Schaefer was never given. That's not a knock on Dino. That's reality. Scott Schaefer was not given time. Dave Doran was. Dave Clawson was. Look at what they've done with their programs. Who cared about Who was talking about NC State before Dave Doran? Who was talking about Wake Forest before Dave Clawson? Dave Clawson has built such a strong program, and he knows how to respond. He knows how to react. Whatever happens in the first half, he knows how to make adjustments. He's done it against Dino, and he's done it against Dino in such a massive way. He was down like 21-0 or 21-7 in the Dome a couple of years ago. Came back and won the game 60. I think it was 69-43 or 63-49. It was absolutely insane. He makes great adjustments. And he's done it against Syracuse, and he'll try to do it again in the Dome this weekend when I'm there at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the kickoff inside of the Dome. Is undefeated Wake Forest 5-0 takes on the 3-2 Syracuse Orange. This would be a big win for Syracuse, and it would just keep things rolling for Wake Forest. To look at some of the games that we didn't pick that I thought were interesting and who won. We did pick Western Michigan and Buffalo. Western Michigan won that game, but to go back and look at some of these teams, Temple, who's played spoiler in the past with other head coaches, with Matt Rule and maybe Steve Adazio and some of the other guys that had come through there, Jeff Collins. Now they have Rod Carey. They were able to defeat Memphis, who, albeit, doesn't have Mike Norvell anymore. But they defeated Memphis at home in Philadelphia for Temple, 34-31. That was a game that was unexpected, in my opinion. Clemson barely beat Boston College 19-13, which goes to continue to show the woes of this offense with DJ Uiagalelei and getting comfortable and trying to figure things out. So that was another one that threw you for a loop. Other games here, Liberty was able to take care of business over UAB on the road, and so their only loss of the season is against Syracuse. Then we look at some games. Ball State defeated Army 28-16 at home for Ball State, and Nevada defeated Boise State 41-31. East Carolina put the spank on Tulane, who almost defeated Oklahoma earlier on this season on the road, and they lose to East Carolina, who struggled to win any games in recent history, and they lost big, 52-29. East Carolina gets that win. Navy defeats UCF in Annapolis, Maryland, 34-30. So some of these games just kind of flipping in the other direction. Texas Tech was able to best West Virginia 23-20. So this was a week of some games that people probably didn't have going in certain directions, especially in the American Athletic, with Navy defeating UCF and East Carolina taking down Tulane.
Good teams you're talking about there. I think the one game that really interested me, Wake Forest beat Louisville 37-34. So you better be ready for them up there because they're going to be able to score some points. I think the game that two games surprised me most was the Stanford and Oregon game, which I picked Stanford to beat Oregon, but they did. The other one was Cincinnati and Notre Dame. Now, every week or every fall season, I always beat the hell out of Notre Dame because I think they're so overrated.
Yeah.
Well, they played a team that was faster than they do. Why do I always say that to our listeners out there? It's the truth. The Southern teams play faster than the Northern team. They're faster athletes on the field. Defense, special teams, offense, and Cincinnati would just run all over these people. Cincinnati is the model for the rest of these teams up there, including Ohio State, Michigan State, and so on. That's the model. You play fast, and you beat fast. And Notre Dame just looked like a shell. I mean, now we don't have to worry about Notre Dame being in the thick of the playoff because they're all done. But Cincinnati is a different story. And Cincinnati is a different animal. And Stanford or Oregon. Oregon maybe reading too many articles about themselves because they should have won this game. But Stanford is no slouch. They got a great coach. Stanford beating Oregon 31-24 or 31-29, something like that. And Alabama, of course, beating a floozy easy. I think it was 35-0 in the first quarter. So, but some of these games we mentioned, the Cincinnati Notre Dame game, especially, Cincinnati speed all over the field, beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, in the Stanford-Oregon game, again, another game where you look at the fact that, Oregon was able to go into Ohio State and win that game, and then here they are going against Stanford and losing in overtime. These teams that are having these big-time wins, but then having these losses to unranked teams, Oregon, number 3 in the country, at the time of their loss to Stanford unranked. And, yeah, of course, I save it till the end. Cincinnati taking down Notre Dame. Now, a couple weeks ago, I had some thoughts about Notre Dame. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. But my feelings on Notre Dame are based in reality. Not based in emotion, not based in randomness, not based in, I really like that movie. No, based in reality. Notre Dame has done nothing in the last 5 years at least to make me think, oh wow, this is a really good team. Well, Dan, on paper, they play really tough teams. On paper, I don't care. I care, are they ranked? Who are they beating? Who are they defeating? Last year, what does the committee chair say? Well, their strongest win was against Clemson. That was against Clemson, double overtime at home in South Bend against DJ Uiagalelei, who's doing nothing this year. And when they played Trevor Lawrence, they got spanked. They got embarrassed. So how can you say that's their best win when it took them double overtime to beat a backup quarterback with a team that wasn't full strength, and then when Clemson was full strength, they took care of Notre Dame like they're supposed to? Your best win is your worst loss, but you still let them in the college football playoff? That's a no from me. Now, Cincinnati, that's a real team. And I've been telling you this under Luke Fickell over and over and over again. Cincinnati didn't just win this game. They won this game on the road in South Bend and beat them by double digits, 24-13. They made it happen. They showed the world, hey, guess what? Notre Dame, they ain't all that. They might have been all that, but they ain't all that right now. And they took care of business. Cincinnati did what they were supposed to do. This is what Luke Fickell has been building towards. He's won some games. He's beaten some teams in the quote-unquote Power 5. But this, playing Georgia the first day of this year, January 1st, 2021, in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl that I was down at, and losing by a field goal just because at the end of the game they didn't, they defended well for so much of that game and didn't finish. Whether the gas ran out, whatever it may be, a couple passes here and there and it didn't work out and they lose to Georgia. It took Georgia the entire game to beat Cincinnati. But if Cincinnati had won that game, now we're talking about Cincinnati beats Georgia and Cincinnati beats Notre Dame. They were almost there and almost there and almost, and here they are, not almost there, they're there. They did it. They won. It wasn't by a last-second field goal. It wasn't by a Hail Mary. It was by double digits on the road. Cincinnati is a real team. The worst thing that could happen to the American Athletic Conference and the best thing is what's happening right now. Because Cincinnati's still an American athletic team. But Cincinnati allegedly is leaving for the Big 12. So this is what Mike Oresco and the entire conference has been working toward. Proving that the UCFs and the Cincinnatis and the Memphises and so on and so forth are worth being looked at, are worth giving opportunities. Definitely UCF a few years ago and Cincinnati of the last couple of years are worth being looked at in the college football playoff, even if there's four teams. Well, Cincinnati just beat Notre Dame. Who made it to the college football playoff last year doing nothing? Notre Dame. Who didn't make it doing everything? Cincinnati. And now you put them head-to-head? I love when people make this argument with me. Oh, Dan, you know what? Why don't, to shut you up, why don't we just have Cincinnati play Notre Dame, and when they lose by 100, you can't say anything anymore? What's up, Cupcake? They just played each other head-to-head. Notre Dame took Cincinnati's spot in the college football playoff last year. And what did Notre Dame just have happen to them against Cincinnati? They got spanked. So they did play each other head-to-head, and they did prove my point. So I was right, and I know that I was right, because I know what Cincinnati has, and I know what UCF has had of recent history. Best thing to happen to the American, what Cincinnati just did. Worst thing to happen to the American is that Cincinnati's on their way out the door.
True. But I wouldn't say that much about Cincinnati now. They got, if they're going to be part of this equation of the playoff, they're going to have to play pretty good for the rest of the year and then play some super teams. Notre Dame is not a super team. But if they wind up playing Georgia or Alabama, then we'll see how tough they are. I have to agree that the AAC is having some success here in the last several years, 3 years especially, with UCF and so on. So, there should be kudos to these guys. And they are, falling over to some of the other leagues and beating some guys, which is good. I'm glad we saw Cincinnati beat Notre Dame because Notre Dame is kind of a fall pause, But Cincinnati is the real deal. But don't crown them the champions yet until they start playing some really super teams. And that'll happen if they make the College Four.
Yeah, and we will see what happens here. Now, Cincinnati, all I'm saying, top 5 team now, a team that was kept out of the college football playoff last year, and a team that beat the team that I believe took their spot. So all I'm saying is that Cincinnati's for real. Now, will they stack up against Alabama? I love when people say that. Well, can they beat Alabama? Can anybody beat Alabama? You know what I mean? You can't say that that's the litmus test. How about can Cincinnati beat Florida? Can Cincinnati beat Clemson? And Clemson's better and whatnot. Can Cincinnati beat Ohio State? Those are questions to ask, but can anybody beat? I mean, you can't say Alabama because nobody beats Alabama. Very rarely does anybody take down Alabama. So if Alabama loses, it's 1 to 2 games this season. What are they? There's times where they've lost like 3 games in 5 years or something ridiculous. So that can't be the litmus test. But does Cincinnati, if the college football playoff happened today, are they in it? Yeah, they should be in it. Should they have been in it last year? Absolutely. And so should have Texas A&M. So we are where we are right now. Cincinnati's doing what they're supposed to do, which is winning all the games ahead in front of them. And they had a convincing win on the road against a top 10 Notre Dame team, and now Cincinnati's in the top 5. So, committee, do the right thing. I don't care who's padding your pockets. I don't care what movies you like. I don't care what school you went to or what conference you represent. When push comes to shove, you're supposed to make an impartial decision. So take human error out of it, and let's actually start doing things the right way. Because you said the BCS was bogus, or because of why? Because it's a computer system and it doesn't make sense and it's not fair. Okay, well now you're human beings. So be fair and prove that you're better than a computer. We'll take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, Papa Joe and I will make our Week 6 college football picks right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Hanging out inside the Cafe Kubal studios, you're watching on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're connecting with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Cafe Kubal Studios, like I said, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, in downtown Syracuse, inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital. And a thank you to Golisano for all you're doing for our kids and our families. And may God guide your hands, your hearts, and your minds today. As well as to the 343 Fayette Street location in Manlius, New York. And, of course, the first ever drive-thru for Cafe Kubal on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in North Syracuse, a.k.a. Sweetheart Corners. With all that being said, Papa Joe here with us, and I am sporting my shirt. I gotta showcase my shirt right now. You see it? Bung. So, my Dan Tortora Broadcast Media shirt, proudly brought to you by Mark Products. Big shout-out to Mark Products and all the amazing things that they've done for Superpowered Pop, Comic Book Trails, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and Dan on Disney. I have not unveiled the Superpowered Pop or Comic Book Trails clothing line yet, but I will be, and I'm very excited about doing that very, very soon, so make sure you check that out. With that being said, PJ and I are here to make our Week 6 picks for college football. Greg saying Penn State versus Iowa game this week is huge, and he said Cincinnati could be a top 4 team in the nation after this week. They got to keep winning emphatically, got to win convincingly against SMU. They got a chance to sneak in, but many things need to fall their way. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate of being a team that's, in outside of the quote-unquote Power 5, is that Cincinnati's a really good team, and Notre Dame found that out, hopefully. But, and they were disrespected. PJ, there was something that was really cool, that there was a graphic that was made before the game where Notre Dame had put a graphic out of them running with Cincinnati at their feet, and it said, leave them in the dust. And Cincinnati, after the game, changed the picture to a Cincinnati player running and a Notre Dame person falling at their feet, and it said, we changed it for you, and it said, left them in the dust.
I like that.
So Cincinnati definitely showing, hey, you're going to disrespect us, we're going to take care of business on the field. Cincinnati has Temple this Friday, October 8th, PJ. What are your thoughts on this? Temple just played spoiler to Memphis, and now they're going to try and play spoiler to Cincinnati. This game is going to be worldwide, televised on ESPN at 7 p.m. Eastern Time.
Wow. Temple should be competitive, but I think Cincinnati wins going away. There's too much at stake for Cincinnati. Their coaching staff are not going to let the kids meander about either. They got to be sharp. Frankly, they got to be sharp for the rest of the season because they got a big target on their back. But the target's not going to be hit by Temple today.
Yeah, so we're going with Cincinnati in this one. I'm going with that as well. It's just one of those games that you have to look out for. Greg said, when can I put out my merch order? Greg, we will talk about it. Make sure you message me. Send me a private message after the show. We'll talk. Stanford at Arizona State. Arizona State is ranked. Arizona State's done some good things recently. Stanford just defeated third-ranked Oregon and is still not ranked. But Arizona State just defeated UCLA when they were unranked. So UCLA was 20 on the road, Arizona State was. They defeat them. Now they're 22 in the country. Stanford coming off of a win over Oregon. Who wins this game in Arizona?
Oh, this is a good pick'em game right here. The gamblers got to be real careful with this one. I like Stanford mainly because they play the good teams really good, and I like them in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford, to me, I feel like they're a team that last week, you wanted to pick. You know what I mean? If you didn't, you almost go back and go, man, I should have. So I'm going to have to go with Stanford in this matchup as well. I think Stanford last year, where they were ranked at one point in the season, and not necessarily deservedly so, this year, they're not ranked, and they're fighting to get in, so I'm excited about this. How about in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, we're going to see Oklahoma play Texas. The two teams that are supposed to be SEC teams in just a couple of years are in the Big 12, playing at noon Eastern time on ABC in the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma's number 6 in the country. Texas is number 21. And Texas was not ranked this past week. I almost feel like they ranked Texas because they beat TCU. So I almost feel like they ranked Texas just so they could have a better TV audience. It's like, we can't have Oklahoma play unranked Texas in this rivalry game. So they got them up to 21, probably took the spot of Stanford. But I think it's funny that Texas beats TCU on the road and they get ranked, which I feel like is just more to publicize two ranked teams in this game. What do you have for this?
Oh, this is every year they call us the Red River game. It always used to be a big bloodbath 5, 6, 8 years ago. But not so much in recent history. These teams are coming into the dangerous SEC. They better be sharp to do that. I just like the way Spencer Rattler plays quarterback for Oklahoma. I think he's got pinpoint passing. He's a big enough kid where he can scramble. He doesn't run that much, but he'll run if he has to. I look for Oklahoma to just run right over Texas on this.
Yeah, I don't see that Texas has done anything to. Now, Steve Sarkisian is putting together some good recruiting, but I'm going to go with Oklahoma in this game. I think Oklahoma, to me, is a team that should go in here and take care of business against Texas. Texas has not wowed me at all, and so I'm not overly excited about this game. Now, Arkansas is facing off against Ole Miss. Ole Miss lost to Alabama, the number one team in the country, 42-21, and Ole Miss is still ranked in the top 17. They're number 17 overall. Arkansas, despite putting up a goose egg, 37-0 to Georgia, shows the respect of the SEC. They only dropped from 8 to 13 in the rankings, dropped 5 spots after being blanked by Georgia. What are your thoughts on Arkansas at Ole Miss?
Arkansas is certainly not a top 13 team. That's crazy. They should have dropped lower than that. Mississippi got their butt spanked. My man Lancer is down there eating too much popcorn, I guess. Mississippi can score some points, that's for sure. He's an unusual coach. He's an unusual offensive coordinator. If you watched the game last week against Alabama, you noticed on fourth down he went for it a couple times. Didn't make it, but that's the way he coaches. I look for them, Mississippi to win this game.
Yeah, I got Ole Miss in this one as well. I just feel like Arkansas could be trending downward at this point, and I was high on them last week, but they definitely showed me that they didn't play with the big boy well, and so I'm going to go with Ole Miss in this game. I think Ole Miss will take care of this. Tickets as low as $51, surprising for that game. Florida, do they bounce back against Vanderbilt? Florida dropped to 20 in the rankings. What's your thoughts on Vanderbilt at Florida? By the way, all of these games are at noon. So how about this? You have to literally go back and forth, but Disney, which pretty much owns everything, Disney has Oklahoma, Texas on ABC, and Arkansas, Ole Miss on ESPN. Disney literally owns the two channels at noon on Saturday, October 9th. They're going to be showing two awesome games. I just want to make note of that. Florida against Vanderbilt. What are your thoughts on this one?
This is such a major disappointment last week, even though I picked Kentucky because of their defensive line. Florida can score points at will. Coach Mullen, actually, there's some articles down here saying that he may not be coming back, and that's hard for me to read because he's an exceptional coach. He's a great recruiter. I don't look for Florida to make any mistakes this week, but Florida's got to win out. Let's face it, and they're going to they're playing LSU next week, and then after that they got to play Georgia. Florida could wind up being a 500 team if they don't wake up.
So my question to you is: should Dan Mullen be the next head coach at Jacksonville?
I got so much to talk about with reminder. I don't want to start now because if I do start now, I'll be talking 30 minutes on Urban the Meyer liar.
So we will talk about Urban Meyer in just a little bit. I like the Meyer liar, and I just want to remind people that when I was asked the question, how do I feel about Urban, I said, I don't know how to feel yet. I believe we have different morals. And obviously, we do. He has similar morals to my ex-wife, but not to me. So we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Now, next one up here is I'm going to go to Florida State and North Carolina. This game is in North Carolina, but last year Florida State played spoiler to North Carolina's hopes of getting in the college football playoff. What are your and of getting in the ACC championship game? What are your thoughts when Florida State, coming off of a win, feeling maybe pretty good about themselves, they're on ESPN at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. They're both unranked. Does North Carolina get something from Florida State, or does North Carolina take care of business?
I think North Carolina takes care of business. FSU played a reasonably good game last week. Gave up too many yards and too many points against your team. But they can be reckoned with. I'm sure they can score points, but they got to be able to stop North Carolina. I don't think they can. Being in North Carolina, this is a pick'em game, but I'm going to pick North Carolina.
This is a very difficult game for me to pick because I think that there's some momentum for Florida State, but I'm going to pick North Carolina in this one. Mac Brown, if I know anything about Mac Brown, he knows that they lost last year to them. He ain't going to let it happen twice. So, Georgia at Auburn. Does Georgia trip up on the road, number 2 in the country versus number 18 in the country? What are your thoughts? On CBS at 3:30. I don't know how people are going to watch these games without having a matrix room where you have 47 TVs all next to each other because all these games are on at the same time. What do you have for Georgia at Auburn?
When I was watching the Georgia game and the Alabama game last weekend, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think there's too many NFL teams that could beat these guys. I mean, Georgia has fast athletes all over the field, and they just swarm. They swarm. Auburn will not know what hit them. Georgia's going to win this game easy, and I want to see Georgia, Alabama play. That's all I care about. The rest of the schedule, I don't care. Forget the playoffs and stuff. I just want to see Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, I got Georgia in this one as well moving forward. I learned my I learned my lesson on kind of where Georgia was at this past week. I know they had a good defense, but dang it, to shut out Arkansas was big. East Carolina coming off a big-time victory, like I just mentioned here. Them coming off a big win over Tulane. UCF coming off a loss against Navy, which is uncharacteristic of UCF in recent history. We're in the bounce house in Orlando. Does East Carolina defeat UCF on the road and continue the UCF woes, or does UCF correct course?
I think they do. I think they're correct. I like UCF in this game because they're playing at home. This is a tough game to pick, too. But I like UCF. I think that they'll wake up and play the rest of the year good.
Yeah, I'm going to go with UCF in this one as well to correct themselves. I don't think they're going to falter here. I know East Carolina's got nothing to lose, so they're going to come in there striking. But I think that UCF will take care of business. I'm not too worried about it, so to speak. I mean, it is a concern game for me, but I think UCF will be able to score, and they're going to be back at home. LSU now has a crack at Kentucky. Kentucky was unranked. This is how much they respect Florida. Kentucky wasn't ranked last week. Florida was 10, I believe. Kentucky was not ranked. Florida was 10. Kentucky went from unranked to 16. And now they get to host LSU, who already lost this year against UCLA in the first game of the season, and LSU first week of the season, and then LSU is not even ranked. So with Kentucky home again, after having Florida come into town, do they take care of business against LSU and make a case for themselves to be in the top 15 or top 10?
This is a tough game, too. I think Coach O is really disappointed down there. And frankly, I think Coach O will be playing for his job here. He's got to beat Kentucky. Somehow he's got to beat Kentucky. I'm not in favor, obviously, of letting a coach go in the middle of the year, but a lot of talk down here about Coach O not making it. So if you want to keep your coach, LSU, Coach O's got to win this game, and I think he does.
I'm going with Kentucky. I'm going with Kentucky and their momentum right now. Listen, Coach O is a coach that I enjoy. He's a coach that I would have loved to have at Syracuse and come back here where he has some roots. I'm going with Kentucky in this game, but Coach O, show me what you got. I'm not going to be mad at you if you win. That's what I'll say. On CBS at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, not on ABC, not on ESPN, on CBS, we get to see Bama Lama play up against Jimbo Fisher. Thank you. So what do you think about Texas A&M, who's now unranked, going up against number 1 Alabama at home in Texas?
They could be playing in China. Would it make any Alabama is just too big and too strong and too fast. And even though Jimbo's done a good job over there at Texas A&M in a couple of years, he's not going to win the big games, and this one he's not going to win at all. Alabama and Georgia just scare the hell out of me. I really mean that. I mean, those two teams are so far ahead of the rest of the country that no one can catch up. And Texas A&M's not going to catch up this week either. This is Alabama.
And if it was, and I'm going with Alabama as well. Like I said, Alabama to me, I'm not concerned about really anybody up to this point so far against Alabama. If it wasn't enough that ESPN, ABC, and CBS all have games that are going to take your time, there's a game on Fox that you're also going to have to watch at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday, October 9th. That game, number 4 Penn State, number 3 Iowa. Let me say that again. Number 4 Penn State, number 3 Iowa. The committee who strokes the ego of the Big Ten all darn day, they have both of these teams in the top 4. Number 1, PJ, do they deserve to be in the top 4? And number 2, what are your thoughts on the game? Penn State at Iowa.
No, they don't deserve to be there. To me, they're like, I classify them like a Notre Dame. They're just not as good as the upper echelon teams. However, saying that, I do like Iowa in this game. I think they're better suited for the type of game they're going to play. I think they have enough offense to keep Penn State's defense on the field a long time to wear them out. So I like Iowa here.
You like Iowa at home. And looking at Penn State's record, number 4 in the country, they defeated Wisconsin on the road 16-10 when Wisconsin was ranked 12th in the nation. They defeated Ball State. They defeated Auburn at home, 22 in the country, 28-20 in a comeback game. They defeated Villanova, who is an FCS team, 38-17. And they defeated Indiana, who doesn't have my guy anymore, Stevie Scott, in the backfield. And that's obviously shown itself as they've struggled to score. And they defeated them 24-0. So really the big win, Auburn. Wisconsin isn't ranked anymore. On the other side of it, for Iowa, who's also 5-0, the Iowa Hawkeyes have defeated Indiana, when Indiana was ranked 34-6, but that don't matter. They defeated Iowa State, number 9 in the country, on the road in the rivalry game, 27-17. And then they defeated Kent State, 30-7, unranked. Colorado State, 24-14, unranked. At Maryland, unranked, 51-14. So, who has the better win? Penn State. Who's going to get the win? Iowa. I'm going with Iowa in this game as well. I've kind of learned my lesson to not really go against Iowa in certain situations. You know, I feel like I've picked against them in the past, so maybe not a ton, but I'm going with Iowa in this game. Let's see them Hawkeyes get it done. PJ, we have a final game here that we're going to go to. I don't know if you're familiar with this team. I believe that their mascot is an orange, despite the fact that oranges don't grow in Syracuse. What are your thoughts on Wake Forest 5-0 and ranked in the top 25, coming into Syracuse Town to the Dome on ESPN2? That's right, baby. It's going to be on TV. Not the ACC network that didn't even have sound in the first quarter of this last game. They had no sound. No sound. They're like, oh, you know, you could do that. No. I love the ACC. I appreciate and respect the ACC. I have a great relationship with the ACC. With that being said, the ACC network is ridiculous. Syracuse fans deserve to watch games at home in the comfort of their own house if they choose to. That's on television. We have not been able to watch a Syracuse game in Syracuse for years now. Local. We can't turn on 3, 5, or 9 and watch a Syracuse game. Why? Because of money. Stupid. Ridiculous. And you know what? There'd be a lot more people with cable right now if you had Syracuse fans being able to watch games in their own city. So we're on ESPN2. Thank the good Lord baby Jesus that these people can actually watch the game. We'll see you there at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you at the Dome, God willing. Wake Forest is number 19 in the country. Syracuse is unranked. Syracuse is 3-2. Wake Forest is 5-0. Dave Clawson adjusts in the second half to Dino all the time. Dino never adjusts to Dave Clawson. So what happens in this game?
I think Dino gets outcoached in this one too. I see too many good athletes on both sides of the ball. Frankly, after watching Syracuse play a good game against FSU, but I don't think their defense is going to be tested as well as the FSU game. Wake Forest, they don't blow my screw up either, but they are undefeated. They have won some good games. Syracuse really has a chance to win this game, Daniel. They really do. And for that, I think I'm going to pick them.
Oh, you're going to pick Syracuse. PJ, going with the Syracuse. Well, PJ, I love my hometown. I wear Syracuse proudly. I bring them everywhere I go. They're in my heart. They're also in your pool now, because I jumped. I have nothing but love and respect for my hometown. But I believe as a broadcaster or somebody that works in media, it is a cardinal sin to be partial. One of the worst things you can do is be partial. You have to be impartial when you make your decisions, no matter who you love, in the comfort of your own home. Syracuse, I love you. I hope you prove me wrong. Floyd, I can't look at your book right now because you're looking at me, and I know you'd be mad if I did this. But I'm picking Wake Forest because as a broadcaster, I cannot argue the fact that Dave Clawson, for the past, 3 years now, has shown Wake Forest why they hired him and kept him, shown me what I was hoping for. He has been the top of the Atlantic Division in the ACC, second, third. This man has brought Wake Forest to numerous bowl games, I think 5 in a row. He has had tremendous success at a program at a small school that nobody thought about. Even people in North Carolina, even media in North Carolina that cover all the North Carolina teams would cover North Carolina, Duke, NC State, and skip Wake Forest. So with that being said, Clausen, I know you're the truth. You know me, I know you. We've talked for almost a decade now. I see how you've adjusted to Dino in the past. And as much as I want to believe that this Syracuse team can show me more than what the teams have shown me the last couple years, and I really hope for that, being partial is a cardinal sin. So I have to pick Wake Forest based on the sheer fact that Dave Clausen knows how to play Dino, and he knows how to beat him. And Clausen's beaten a lot better teams this year than Syracuse's team. So I'm going with Dave Clausen and the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. And if I'm wrong, my home team wins. And if I'm right, then I got a prediction right. I can't lose. But I can't pick against Dave Clausen in this game. And Greg said that is PJ's bold pick of the week, Syracuse.
That's it.
So that coming from Papa Joe. We're going to take a step aside. We're going to come back with plenty of lap dances. Just kidding. Wanted to make sure Urban Meyer was going to be listening. We'll be back right after this fast break to see who's dancing on who and what we're going to do about it. Shad Khan, a few games into a winless season, has to put out a statement about Urban Meyer. Wow, folks. If you want to add insult to injury, they just did. We'll talk about this with the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Urban Meyer saga and how I was 100% right that his morals are definitely not mine. We'll be back right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville beats. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We've reached that portion of today's show inside the Cafe Kubal studios with Papa Joe, where it's time to talk about Urban Meyer. Not to talk about a win by Urban, but another loss. So somehow the man found a way to lose 4 games and to lose in the public eye and potentially to lose the respect of his players. Urban Meyer, in a video that surfaced after he did not take the plane back, allegedly, from Cincinnati in a loss this past Thursday, a week ago today, can't believe it's been a week, but a loss on Thursday to the Cincinnati Bengals at the end of the game. And in losing that game, Urban Meyer decided not to take the plane back, went out, and was seen with a woman dancing on him that was not his wife. After that happened, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shad Khan, released a statement. And this is what the statement says. I have addressed this matter with Urban. Specifics of our conversation will be held in confidence. What I will say is his conduct last weekend was inexcusable. I appreciate Urban's remorse, which I believe is sincere. Now he must regain our trust and respect. That will require a personal commitment from Urban to everyone who supports, represents, or plays for our team. I am confident he will deliver. Again, now, mind you, Shad Khan was allegedly out on boats and doing all this stuff, trying to woo Urban Meyer for a while to take this job. So this is a lot riding on Shad Khan, too, and Shad Khan's decision-making. Quote, I have addressed this matter with Urban. Specifics of our conversation will be held in confidence. What I will say is his conduct last weekend was inexcusable. I appreciate Urban's remorse, which I believe is sincere. Now, he must regain our trust and respect. That will require a personal commitment from Urban to everyone who supports, represents, or plays for our team. I am confident he will deliver. Papa Joe, thoughts on Urban Meyer, the video that surfaced, his decision to not come back with the team from Cincinnati, and where we stand today?
Daniel, we don't have enough time for me to talk about this jerk. This guy is an effing jerk. I knew it when he was in Florida. I heard about it. I witnessed it. He's an effing jerk. And there's not more he can say. I don't know why a man that was entrusted with the money that he's making to the franchise that we follow, why does he not take the plane back home? Why does a head coach not do that? Why? Because you got another agenda. That's probably what you're referring to. And I imagine his players were surprised too. Usually when the guys are flying home, They're going over stats. They're going over blocking techniques. Coaches are coaching on a plane, not him. He doesn't care about that. So what does he do? He goes out and tries to get a little nookie with a little girl. That ain't going to work. Urban, I've had enough of you over the years. I just thought for sure that when you came here, that your coaching expertise would be better than your actual personal expertise. Personally, he sucks. He's still a good coach. I need to see that. Now, should he resign? That's 50-50. If we poll our listeners, you probably got more saying that we'd like to have him resign. And not, Khan's in a tough place. If Khan fires him, he owes him a hell of a lot of money. Now, if Urban walks away, like he did in Florida a couple times, then they don't owe him nothing. So, it's a tough decision for Khan. He's an astute businessman. It's difficult to make good decisions all the time. He's made the majority of the decisions. I think may not because we still got the rest of the season. I think Mr. Khan is the true word. He's not going to fire anyone until the end of the year. But I tell you, talking about being on what do you do there? He's lost the locker room. You might as well just give the offensive coordinator his job, defensive coordinator their job, and sit back and watch. Because he's not, whatever he's going to say, he's not going to make a damn difference to their team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We look at Urban Meyer was already questionable, right? He stops coaching. He says it's because of health reasons and whatnot. He walks away from one team, walks away from another team, comes to this team. And the question of, is he in it? Does he care? Does it matter? Will he cut corners? Does he do things morally? And on and on and on and on and on. Urban Meyer, when you say the name, you automatically think issues, morals, values. Can he? Will he? Will he just quit? And when I had the opportunity to interview him and I was there in the press room, I take body language very seriously. And when he talked about the team, he looked like a little kid who had been scolded. He was touching the podium, scratching at the podium with his finger, looking at the ground. And I thought to myself, is he really in this? Does he really want to be here? Is he going to last as a coach here? Is he going to be here next year? Is he going to be here this year? So, that question of Urban Meyer, does he care about anybody but himself? It's still a question. It's still a question. Yes, I know people make mistakes. But when you make mistakes over and over and over and over again, or you consistently have people wondering, are you here? Are you committed? Are you going to stay committed? Are you responsible? Are you going to stay committed? Do you have responsibility? Are you going to stay committed? When they ask the same question repeatedly, it makes you wonder, is this guy responsible and can he stay committed? That's the question.
There was a saying when he was in Florida, and of course it's been picked up now, Urban Meyer the liar. Instead of saying Urban, it's just Meyer the liar. And that's essentially what he does. He's done it all through his career, but he's such a good coach that he wins. So, but he's not winning here, and his Meyer liar is going to run awful thin here. He's got to look at. I want to see. All I care about right now is Tennessee playing Jacksonville. I don't give a damn about what Urban's doing or saying or thinking about right now. I want his team ready to play Jacksonville because they don't stop Derrick Henry, they're going to lose this game again. And we'll be right back talking where we are. I'd rather talk football. I'd rather talk the teams because I'm done talking with Urban. I mean, I had enough of him in Florida, even though he won 2 championships in 4 years. I mean, how can you not respect a guy that won 2 championships in 4 years with 2 different quarterbacks? So there's really nothing more to say except the football games. That's terrible, terrible situation.
He did respond. He said, quote, I had at least 3 or 4 conversations with Shad, speaking of owner Shad Khan. The message is loud and clear, and I agree with it. Also met with the team on Monday, which is this past Monday, October 4th, individually, and then today as a group, which I believe he said on Wednesday. So, that he's met with the team twice. So he said, also met with the team on Monday individually and then today as a group. Had a very pointed conversation with them, owning a stupid mistake that I made. A job of a coach is, number 1, health and safety of a player. Number 2, is motivate them or bring out the greatness in them. And number 3 is give them everything possible to be successful and give them a great locker room and then get the heck out of the way. And I apologize for a distraction with a huge week coming up, especially after they made so much improvement from week 1 to week 4. End quote. Trevor Lawrence said, I know a lot of the guys respected it, how he addressed this morning. Obviously, it's not an easy situation, and you don't want to be in this situation, but I think he's done right by us, and it was a good meeting this morning, just up front with us, apologized, end quote. Now, one day after the Jaguars' loss, on that Friday is when things went down. Meyer's 57 years old. He is married. And he said he and family members went to his restaurant, Urban Meyer's Penthouse in Columbus, and that people at a nearby event asked to take photos with him. Meyer said he should have left when people tried to get him to dance with them. There's a 9-second video that surfaced with a young woman dancing in his lap. And that's where all this came from. Now, Shad Khan made a statement, which I read to you. And he said, Meyer said Wednesday that he met with each position group individually on Monday because it was a more intimate setting. He said, quote, I wanted to get in their space. I have a good relationship with this whole team. I'm not a big team meeting guy. I do a lot of it that way, where I'll go, the running backs, where I'll go to, the running backs, where there's a group of 4. Team meetings are it's just a big environment. In my opinion, you don't get much done in a team meeting. You get a lot done when you're in personal space with people. I've always done that. And then he said that the team was over the top supportive and said, we got you, man. We move forward. A common thing was, Coach, we all did stupid things. End quote. Now, Josh Allen, who I spoke with after their loss at home to the Arizona Cardinals, you can go back and watch the video on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. He said that they play for Urban, that Urban inspires them, that he gets them turned. He gives them the energy. Well, Josh Allen said after everything, quote, we all really appreciate him, but we all know we all got a job to do. He's a great coach, he's a great man, and he's going to bounce back, and we're all going to bounce back. We're going to play even harder for him. We're ready to play, he's got our back, and we're going to have his back. That's how we going. End quote. So Lawrence went on to say, quote, I feel good about our team. Nothing's changed. We're still really tight, so we're just looking forward to playing the Titans this weekend and getting back on track. He's still my head coach. I still respect him regardless of what happens. End quote. Thoughts, PJ?
Well, that's all a lot of fluff. I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I said that Urban's lost the team. What Urban has lost the brothers. And when you lose the brothers on an NFL team or on a basketball team or whatever, you're not going to win. You're not going to be able to motivate them. You're not going to be able to get in their head. These guys are not going to tolerate. They'll play for someone like Mike Tomlin, but they're not going to play for Urban. He's lost the brothers.
Well, Urban Meyer may have lost this brotherhood of the locker room. He may have lost these players. We shall see as we step forward. Thought you couldn't go worse than 0-4, but a loss off the field could cost Jacksonville even more so. As we step forward here and try to find an era of Jaguars football that can well represent the city, its players, and its people. Papa Joe, our final note will come right after this fast break as you and I will make our NFL Week 5 picks. right after this.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
Here at Progressive Dental, we understand the importance of regular dental visits and preventive care. Cleanings and checkups are essential to good oral health. We have multiple locations in the Southern Tier, so come visit us in Binghamton, Enwell, Kirkwood, Montrose, and Norwich. For self-pay non-insured patients, we offer the Smile Plan, which covers all of your cleanings, x-rays, and exams for an affordable yearly price. Call 607-754-2273 or 607-754-CARE to make an appointment today. For more information, visit our website at progressivedentalny.com.
The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you download their app on the Google Play or Apple App Store, so you'll have everything at your fingertips for the Millhouse Market, from their homemade breads and desserts to quinoa bowls, rice bowls, salads, brick oven pizzas, and sandwiches named after the families that helped to settle today's Pulaski. Ingrained in our community and ingrained in our taste buds, the Millhouse Market is second to none when it comes to the quality of their food and the expansive, amazing abyss of their menu. Just so many things to choose from, which are absolutely incredible. Make your way out to the Millhouse Market Tuesday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Sundays from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. for their general store, their indoor dining, and of course their drive-up window where you can grab your food and go. And of course their bistro menu changes every single week. So you want to make sure you make it up there every weekend to the Millhouse Market and try something new. With that being said, back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life inside the Cafe Kubal Studios. Here with Papa Joe, 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, 208 North Townsend Street, 401 South Salina Street in Syracuse, inside of Galisano's Children's Hospital in downtown Syracuse, on 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, with a giant parking lot that just got expanded, and that big brown striped building that looks like coffee being poured, and of course on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road in their drive-through location that has indoor and outdoor dining and the drive-through right there at Sweetheart Corners in North Syracuse. So make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal today as we are inside their studios making our picks. The final note here for Papa Joe and I: as 2 hours felt like 10 minutes. And now we have the opportunity to make our NFL Week 5 picks. PJ, I'm going to let you rock with this. What games do you want to pick for Week 5?
Well, I want to talk over the Tennessee-Jacksonville game because I think it's important to the psyche of the guys. Emotionally, they've gone through a tough week. Derrick Henry's not to care about that because he's on a tear. He's got a chance to set an all-time record for running back that probably won't ever be broken if he keeps on his tear he's on. If you don't stop Derrick Henry at the line of scrimmage or being flared out on a swing pass, you're not going to win this game. If they stop Derrick Henry, they'll win the game. I think they will. I think Lawrence is probably going to be very conservative. And the best thing to do when you play someone like Tennessee and Mike Vrabel's team, even though Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback, he's an average quarterback, you've got to keep them off the field. So Jacksonville's going to have to come up with a game plan that's going to keep their offense on the field so they don't have to face Derrick Henry.
So for you, who are you going with?
Jacks.
All right. I'm going with the Titans in this one. I think that this game is literally James Robinson versus Derrick Henry. That's where I see the good more than anything in this game, at fantasy football-wise. And I said this on the Fantasy Football Power Hour with Mike Sofka yesterday. Go back and watch that and get all of our advice on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. I'm going with the Titans in this game. The Jacksonville Jaguars struggle to beat the Titans on Sundays, historically, which is weird, but true. And they have struggled in recent history, and Derrick Henry having an answer for him. Granted, they don't have Delaney Walker and some of the other guys that they've had in the past to go up against the Jaguars at the tight end position. They don't have Delaney Walker. They don't have Jonnu Smith. And they don't have Julio Jones or A.J. Brown. So it's very depleted, this Tennessee team, but I just don't think Jacksonville is going to be able to get over the hump, which is sad to say because this Titans team's probably the most beat-up Titans team they played in a long time. So I'm going to go with Titans, but I hope that I'm wrong. PJ, another one that I'll pick here for us to do is potentially the sign of a foreshadowing, if you will, of the AFC Championship game for this season, which is Sunday Night Football's Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs. What do you got?
Oh, boy, that's going to be a hell of a game. I can't wait to watch that one. I watched Mahomes last weekend. He was zipping all over the place. A couple of shovel passes for touchdowns. The guy has so many angles to throw the ball. It's incredible. He's better than a pitcher, which he probably was when he was playing ball. The Bills are going to be a monumental test here. This game is fun to watch. And frankly, this is a pick'em game. The Bills may be a little bit better, but the Chiefs are so explosive. And now what do? They sign that idiot who's been a drug dealer for 20 years, for crying out loud. So they got another weapon. So I'm looking for the Chiefs to prevail here.
PJ goes Chiefs. I'm going Bills in this one. Buffalo Bills. This is a game that's going to be up in the 30s. Could be the first team to 40 to win this. And I'm going to pick Buffalo to get there and take care of business. We have our first game in London this year, PJ. The New York Jets and the Atlanta Falcons. It's like sending London a giant bag of trash. So what do you have for the Jets and the Falcons?
Boy, the Jets quarterback played a hell of a game last week. Man, that kid was everywhere. But I do think that Atlanta's got a better team. Matt Ryan is certainly an experienced quarterback. I think he puts it all together for them. I like Atlanta.
PJ going with the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going because the Atlanta Falcons have been so terrible this year. And granted, I know the Jets have been terrible for many years, but the Jets are coming off of a win, and I think the Jets are going to be able to keep it going because they're playing the Falcons and a defense that I'm really not concerned about in any way, shape, or form, or a team that I'm concerned about because everybody's been underwhelming, including Calvin Ridley. So I will be going with the Jets in this one. Final game, Papa Joe, for us to pick. This is going to be for Miss Mary T. Green Bay at Cincinnati. What do you got?
Oh, boy. This will be a good game also. Green Bay showed me something last weekend. Aaron Rodgers looked like he was ready to play, so threw the ball well. Cincinnati is, Joe Burrow, what can you say? I mean, the kid probably was the most valuable player last week for the whole league. They got to contain him. Watching him play at LSU and watching him play now, it doesn't look like he's lost anything. I mean, he's better than he was, and it was hard to beat. I got to say Green Bay, obviously, because of my bros, but it's going to be a hell of a game.
Yeah, I'm going to say Green Bay in this one as well, but Joe Burrow, a second-year player, and really this is like him completing his first year because he was injured for part of last year. This is showing very good signs of a quarterback that has been able to and hopefully will continue to be able to translate from college to the NFL. He's done a great job. His second year has been definitely showcasing the fact that he's a leader, that they believe in him, and that they know how to win games. But I'm going to pick the Packers in this one. I think Aaron Rodgers should be able to take care of business. If he doesn't, then I'm thinking the Bengals could very well be putting themselves in some good footing as we step forward here. That is my conversation with Papa Joe for the day. We talked about, it feels like a week ago, that we talked about the NL wild card, the AL wild card in the first hour of today's show. Went through all of that. Papa Joe gave you his bracket. You had mine once again. You saw Brendan's as well. We put it all together. And on top of all of these things that we got to do, PJ and I were also able to speak on college football, our Week 5 picks, make our Week 6 picks, get into Urban Meyer and the Jaguars, and get to the NFL. We did it all for you and gave you some bonus coverage. And with that being said, PJ, I bid you adieu and thank you for yet another successful PJ Takeover.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Bye.
Talk with you soon. That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So, with that being said, I want to give two final notes here. And a big thanks to the Lemoyne College Dolphins for all that they do here. Fins very, very, very much up here with our multimedia marketing partnership that started in September. And believe it or not, we're already through month number 1. Here into month number 2, you know that Wednesdays are Dolphin time at 9 a.m. Eastern time. You can set it and keep it forever. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern time is Dolphin time, and Dolphin time means the first and third Wednesday of every month. AD and DT is featured with new episodes with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. And on the second and fourth Wednesday of every month, we have Dolphin Dive, where I get to showcase a student, athlete, coach, and or staff member and tell their story in their connection to Lemoyne College and to those Dolphins. So every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time is Dolphin time for AD and DT, as well as for Dolphin Dive. And, of course, bonus coverage, as always, throughout the month, as we've had a lot of opportunities to take pictures, shoot videos, and do some fun things, including this week having Mary Grimes and Nate Champion on the show to speak on the unveiling of their 2021-2022 basketball schedules. Mary for the women's side and Nate for the men's side for the Lemoyne College Dolphins. Very much excited that we got to do that, and a big shout out to those Lemoyne Dolphins. You can find out more information by going to LeMoyneDolphins.com. There's also a Lemoyne tab on Wake Up Call DT.com right now, so you can start to see everything in our archive on there, and you can check that out, so make sure you don't miss out on that. Now, the women's tennis clinched conference championship spot with a 7-0 victory at American International, so a big shout out to the Lemoyne Dolphins women's tennis team for clinching a conference championship spot. Big ups to them for that, and extra time against St. Rose at home for the Lemoyne men's soccer team. They fall 2-1 in that game, and a runner-up finish at the Northeast 10 Conference Championship for men's golf for the Lemoyne College Dolphins. So want to give them a shout-out as well, and a 3-3 draw against visiting Assumption at home for the Lemoyne women's soccer team, as they were able to tie and end the game there. So plenty more coming up from the Lemoyne College Dolphins. Check them out at LeMoyneDolphins.com and the Lemoyne tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. Thank you to Greg, who said covered a lot. Great stuff, gentlemen. Appreciate that. And a big shout out as well to the Marywood Pacers, as we have officially started off our multimedia marketing partnership with my alma mater of Marywood University. And Pacer Pride is a broadcast you will see every single month and hear every single month. We started this month off officially on the first day of our partnership, is the first time you got to see them. So right on October 1st, 2021, the unveiling of the multimedia marketing partnership with Marywood University was coupled with the first ever Pacer Pride episode featuring Executive Director of Athletics Pat Murphy and his story and what Pacer Pride means to him. So make sure you pay attention to the Marywood Pacers at marywoodpacers.com and, of course, the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com and the plenty of things to come with Pacer Pride, as well as on our Instagram at wakeupcall_DT, Facebook at wakeupcalldt, and Twitter at CallDT for Lemoyne and Marywood, where you get to see my thoughts on what's going on with them, and I share a bunch of their accolades and positive moments as well, and you'll definitely see those on the story on Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. So with all that being said, a big shout out and a big thanks to Papa Joe for being a part of the show today with everything that we got to cover inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. A big time shout out to PJ, and many thanks to Papa Joe for being a part of the show every Thursday and for having the PJ Takeover, where he has taken over all 2 hours the last 3 Thursdays here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You can tune in live to Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldT, facebook.com/livenowdt, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldT, and on wakeupcalldT.com's homepage where the MixLR feed is embedded. And, of course, you can search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Stitcher, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts to get the shows whenever you want, listening to a library on Podbean of over 1,500 episodes. Go and search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on your favorite podcasting platform today, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Big thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Lemoyne Dolphins, Pizza Man, Progressive Dental, Mon Paz Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, the Millhouse Market, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, PB&J's Lunchbox, Honda City of Liverpool, Mother's Cupboard. Thank you to each and every single one of you. And, of course, our Pennsylvania partner, the Marywood University Pacers. Have a fantastic day, folks. We have a jam-packed Friday ready for you. I have one-on-one video conversations with multiple Syracuse players. This week, I'm going to be featuring, I'm very excited about this. This week I'm going to be featuring Rhino, a.k.a. Chris Elmore, the fullback. I'll be featuring Matt Bergeron, left tackle, who joined me last week as well. And I will be featuring, for the first time ever, wide receiver Damian Elford. And if you go to wakeupcalldt.com and click on the articles tab right now, there's an exclusive story that I'm featuring on Marlo Wax. Don't miss it. I'll be sharing it on Facebook at wakeupcalldt, Twitter at calldt, and Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. God bless. No stress. Do your best. We'll talk soon.